Anyway, hey, it's 7 o'clock, everybody. Thanks for joining. I think we'll have a few other people coming in to be with us, but we can start chatting. This is, for those of you who haven't done this before, this is something that we started last year, doing a monthly management commission webinar just to talk about what's on our minds. Maybe there's something that pertains to a certain part of the year or doesn't quite work for a session for the full conference and just works better in the webinar thing. So that's where we are. So we will probably say a couple times, a couple thousand times. If you have ideas, please send them to us. We're always wanting good ideas. So what are we about today? We're about, hey, there's a big conference coming up. Um, so this is our conference preview webinar, and I will start with introductions by those of us troublemakers who are a part of bringing this information to you. My name is Tina Shackelford. I am the former management commissioner, but I'm still, since no one has thrown me off yet, still part of the leadership of the management commission. And I, along with Nancy Uffner and Danielle Bergman, who are on this call, kind of put together these monthly webinars, which are most of the time the first Monday of every month. So I'm going to hand off to two more important people than I am in the Management Commission, who really have a lot to do with programming, to say a little bit about themselves and how long they have been involved with USITT and the Management Commission. So I'm going to start with Erin.
Hello, Erin Joy Swank, she, her pronouns. Together with Claudia, we are the brand new management commissioners doing programming together, co-programming, and which means that we're trying to figure out what all is going to happen. My husband just walked in the door. Hi. The joys of home. Um, uh, anyway, we are the ones helping to coordinate exactly what sessions we're going to do and all the other extra events and all of that. I have been going to conference since 2008 when I was actually involved with the very first ever Stage Managers Association booth on the floor. And it was the first time we really had something for stage managers at the expo floor, which we'll talk about the expo floor after a while, I'm sure. And then I became a member, even though my college had gone and it even won the what we used to have called the Tech Olympics. My college had won it because it wasn't really for stage managers. I wasn't even invited. Now that's not true. That's not true whatsoever. And there were things going on in stage management. It just wasn't covered well at all for other people to know. And so I became a member like immediately in 2008. In 2014, I started helping organize this thing called PRIMP, portfolio. Well, it wasn't called it that at the time, Portfolio Reviews and Interview Materials Prep. And because I was doing that, Tina coerced me to join the leadership as at the time, vice commissioner of that and special projects, whatever that meant. And I'm finally handing over the reins of that this year. And as of July, June, whenever we officially changed over, I'm now management commissioner. Claudia's turn.
Hey, Claudia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Claudia Lynch. I My first ever USITT conference was in Pittsburgh in 1997. Um,
Oh,
but then it was my senior year of college, and then there was a little bit of a break. I came back to my first conference after starting to be an educator, and I'm a professor and teach stage management, and so I have been at conference now every year since 2017, and uh, also started to get involved in the management commission, and Tina was instrumental in saying, "Come along onto the leadership." And then, as Erin said, Erin and I started co-programming commissioners this past summer. So we are really excited to take all of the knowledge of all of the people who've been on the leadership for the Management Commission for all these years and all of the great programming that we've done over the years and um, be able to continue that great programming and also potentially help the idea of thinking about how we can always just expand and serve our audiences, which, as everyone knows in the Management Commission, is we don't serve one area, we serve a number of different areas all within management. So we also, the leadership is very dedicated to making sure that we are covering all different topics within management, not specifically stage management, even though a lot of us are stage managers as well. So one of the things that has grown, I think, from my point of view of having come to conference since 2017. One of the things that has been getting bigger and more specific is the idea of labs as well as sessions. And over the past couple of years, the Management Commission has asked ourselves, what does that mean for us? What do we, in addition to our different seminars and sessions, what would labs look like for us? What would professional development workshops look like for us? What would tours and kind of off campus events look like for us? And I think that this year we are excited that we are starting to answer that in different ways and have some ideas for the future of how that can grow. So that's basically where we are. Uh, so we've got, and a couple of people here. Um, we have a number of people here who are on this call who are going to be helping lead some sessions and labs and events at conference. And they'll be able to give us a little bit more of an insight into the specific sessions. But Erin, do you want to jump in and just start with some of the overview?
Or Tina, did you want to go back and first do like
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I would just be interested in knowing those of you on the call. I mean, some of you I know will be at conference, but is there anybody who will be going to the conference this year for the first time?
I will. I'm Shannon. I'm in California. And I'm
Okay,
going for the first time because it's in California.
perfect.
And I work in theater again. So myself and my two coworkers are going. So I'm very excited to hear about it. It's my first time away from my toddler, so that's, fun for me. But I'm really excited to go and to reconnect with friends from my theater past.
That's great. So yeah, we're going to try to talk to people who have been to conference a whole bunch of times and since 1997. Well, not since 1997, like Claudia, but I just always remember 1997 because I live in Pittsburgh and that's when it was and never again. But anyway, and really talk to those of you who've been to conference before and those of you who are new about just how we think things are going. It's a really exciting lineup of programming. So,
And I see in the chat that is also Vitalia's first time.
and Taya's, yes, first time too. So great. So there are no dumb questions, except the ones that I ask. So feel free to just, come on out with it. Just for those of you who don't know, when we talk about commissions, there are 11 commissions of USITT about different disciplines. Management is obviously one of them. There are also other groups who do programming. The International Committee does programming sessions, and also what am I calling it now? I'm the inclusion coordinator, so I coordinate EDI programming. So I call myself a fake commissioner with that. So yeah, so you may see some other things, but basically you will see the 11 kind of broad uh, production disciplines that you see, and that's how things are organized, and that's how we go about deciding what's going to be on the very, very busy schedule when we start planning it, which is always sooner than we think it's going to be. So when we talk about management, don't just stay in the management world. When you look through all the sessions, you may find a huge amount of things that are like, oh, that's a costume craft session, and that looks really cool. So I'm going to go do that. And the biggest challenge sometimes with conference is that there are too many things all going on at the same time because there may be one thing from every interest that you have going on at the same time. And that's a wonderful embarrassment of riches, I suppose. So anyway, but we're here to talk, to focus on management. So yes, I will steer it back to Claudia and Erin to talk about some of the exciting things we have planned.
Well, and we talked about sessions. So if you haven't been to conference, it's my favorite week of the year by far. And I will say, to me, it's more about networking with these lovely people that are on the screen and the hundreds more that I know there. That said, there's also a lot of really cool things to go do. But it's, to me, it's the networking, which networking is a scary word, and it's actually pretty easy at USIDT. It's not a strange thing to just overhear a conversation and go, "Oh yeah." And it's like somebody else pops in and they, it's a lighting person, but they know that theater or something. So it's one of the easiest ways to network. It's still a challenge if you've never done it before, but that's why you came to this webinar, and you've already now met all of these people on their faces, and you're gonna look for us when you get there. But so we have sessions, and there are technically 12 sessions. That's correct, right, Tina? 12 session time slots, but then we were only allowed to pick 10. And of that, one of those is our commission meeting. So we're really only talking about 9 sessions. And yes, stage managers would love every single one to be about stage managers, but also every production manager would like all 9 to be about production managers. So we work to try to find what are things. Yes, we're going to try to do some that are specifically really geared towards those people, but also what are general management kind of things, or negotiations, which we'll talk about, which also we have non-managers come to those because everybody needs to learn to negotiate, right? So it's a whole matrix. And then we are looking at a grid with all the 11 other commissions. And especially like Tina saw one of the ones that was tagged for us. She said, "I want that." But then we like scheduled against each other. And so we're trying to figure out who's the best choice, because we're still scheduled against each other, but we're hoping like this group of people might be a little bit more interested than that group of people. So there's all of that that goes into the planning.
Wait, I thought we fixed that. No?
Well, it's still against one of our sessions, but not
Well,
quite as
it
many.
was always going to be against one of them.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, we fixed I think the major one it was against.
we fixed the one that made Erin sad. So, that's my victory.
It still makes me
That's
slightly
really
sad,
a goal.
but it's better.
when
It's better.
scheduling.
She actually fixed it trying to help thing, and it made me worse, Matt. We're sad, so she fixed it back to my less sad option. How's that? Yeah. And then we have what are called expo only hours. So there's this separate from the learning part that you could still say expo floor is learning. There is an entire large area that has every theatrical vendor you can think of. You've got your Roscoe Lighting, you've got your sound folks, you've got the people that build the seats. And I would never, like in a million years, be in charge of buying that part. But they are throughout the world. We did have somebody asked about sensory issues, if sensory overload. There is one area that has more of like all the lighting and the fog and all that kind of stuff, but it's more contained to that side. And also it's theatrical sensory, so you're probably more used to it than some of the other things you're around, as when I was talking through this with somebody. And so there are dedicated hours that they really want you to try to go to the expo only hours too. However, opposite of that is that thing that portfolio reviews and interview materials prep that I was talking about happens at those times. And then there are major conference-wide events, so big sessions on the main stage where you get to meet the distinguished achievement awards winners that, people who have had very long careers, and every person tries to nominate one for each of their commissions. So we have that going on. There's a night at the aquarium that's going on. So there are things all hours of the day. And I also highly recommend you go to your regional meetings. If it ever says reception, that means free food. So go to all of those and plan your time wisely regarding that. Claudia, do you want to talk about how sessions are proposed and then chosen?
Sure. So we kind of would, there's 2 ways to do it. One is if you want to have an idea for a session and want to be somebody who leads it, you can propose the session to be someone that you will be the person who develops it. There's also plenty of opportunities for you to propose ideas that you would like to see happen, even if you don't want to be the one to run it. And so sometimes that happens. Sometimes we'll get a session proposal about a basic idea. Do something with this idea, and then we will often consolidate. Sometimes we'll get multiple different proposals for roughly the same idea, and then kind of combine it together. And we'll find somebody to kind of take the lead and run it. And other times it's that I have this idea that I can put together. So we really will take that information all year round. So we have a USITT Management Commission Facebook group. We have a Google group, and uh, you could always kind of just propose the ideas of this is something I want to put on the table for in the future. But when we're getting down to, I really have this idea that I want to see next year, or I want to actually develop for next year. We will, when we get to conference, we will have the very specific fill out this form that goes through USITT. It's a USITT proposal form. It's much earlier than you imagine. Like we have to have all of the proposals in basically right after conference and by I think it's end of June, right? So that because by the time we get to the end of July into the beginning of August, we kind of have to have an idea of what our next year's conference is. So if you start to generate ideas for 27, they could always be added to the list in terms of getting in touch with commissioners, but definitely by conference and on that those proposal website will be live to be able to put in the proposals. And any proposal that you put in, if it's tagged as Management Commission, will come to us to be able to develop.
And even be thinking 2028, because some of the ones that didn't make it this year are because we were like, oh, but we know somebody who does this in Baltimore. So it would be a lot easier to have that speaker, in Baltimore. And so there is an aspect of it where we choose, okay, who is in California based, which is when we're going to get to Joel Veenstra here in a moment. His is particularly very California based that we went with some of his proposal. And then we actually tweaked his proposal and said, hey, can you also? But I'm so glad I'm not in the Education Commission or a commissioner for them because they were tagged, I think, over 800 times. And we, quote, only had what, like 80 or something? I can't even remember what it was, but we still had to reduce it down to 9. So yeah.
Do we know? I actually don't realize. I realize I don't know this. Baltimore is 2027. Where is conference in 2028?
I don't think they've announced it.
Right? Okay. Good. I'm glad that I just.
I used to know, and I've just forgotten it. It's been a long
Okay.
day, so.
All right. So
I don't
we'll
think
figure
it's
it out,
official.
but
I don't think it's official yet.
yeah. Okay.
And I want to add that while we know what we're doing, things are also released in trickles. And so like theoretically half of the sessions were supposed to be listed by mid-December, another half by the end of the year. We still have 2 things from management that haven't made it to the session list online, and none of the labs are online yet. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at the schedule going, gee, I don't know if there's still enough stuff. There's going to be more stuff. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Claudia.
Well, so I was going to say, let's talk about labs first, right?
Yeah.
What kind of labs are we doing this year?
So last year we had a really successful taping lab that we had like 11 stations and we all did that stuff. I personally am also on this crusade though that the only thing stage managers do is not taping out things because that's like everything that they think of for any competition, all sorts of stuff. So we may be doing a taping lab. They're still maybe finding us a spot, but that's not actually our focus this year. Deb Sure, why don't you first talk about yours? That last year was the first year we did it, right? And go ahead.
So I'm Deb Shearer. For those of you who joined the call a little earlier, today was my first day at a new job because although theater is what I always want to do, I am also now an attorney. And I started a job today working for a firm that exclusively represents nonprofits, which was the goal. Who knew it was accomplishable? So we've got a lot of arts organizations, so I still get to do this, which is really fun. And so I was a stage manager and then an arts manager and now an attorney. And when we were talking about labs and wanting to do more hands-on learning, the idea of negotiations came up. And so we built a lab last year with some folks I call the dream team, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do it. And we hosted 4 negotiation labs. We went from 0 to 4 in 1 year. There was a lot of caffeine. And so we're hosting those same 4 this year. They are introductory level negotiations. You don't have to come in having ever asked for anything in your life, even though you definitely have. And though we're going to do the exact same 4 again, negotiating sort of a conflict with a coworker, a conflict with a person in authority, negotiating a contract, and requesting an accommodation in the workplace. So we're doing those 4 again. We're using the same space as Primp, so we will sort of go opposite Primp, which is really great. We'll have seats for 40 in those, so there'll be 20 sets of negotiations if the room is full, which they were last year sometimes, and sometimes it's scheduled up against something, so you never really know. But they're an hour each, and we'll go over the principles of negotiations. People will do an actual negotiation. You will divide up, you will negotiate, you will get stuck, you will haggle, you will learn things, and then we'll share out what we learned. And then new this year, we're doing intermediate labs. So for people who have a little experience and want to try something more challenging, I am writing these from scratch because they don't make these scenarios that you can just buy. So we're doing 4-person negotiations. So instead of one-on-one, there are 4 people who need to reach a consensus. One of them is a conference plan. So you've got your organization, you've got your city, you've got your convention center, and you've got your visitors bureau. All of those people want different things, and you all need to come to a resolution that meets some, if not all, of everyone's needs. And then another one is a touring production at a university roadhouse. I really want to throw a fire marshal in one of them just for fun. And so those are what makes those harder is that it's not one person's need. You are 1 against 3 at the beginning, because if you give up something for someone else to get something, how much can you give up to still be satisfied? And so those are more complex, but I think really interesting, and I think real life, if you've ever sat in a production meeting.
All right. And so you can look for those on the schedule and see more details about what those are and what their titles are. So then the other big thing that we are trying to work on, and we're still trying to find out the details, but we are setting up a stage management calling lab for the first time. And so we're still working on exactly what that means and who's going to help us. And it was a little hard to negotiate, exactly how to do this because we came up with like 3 different sets of ideas depending on how big or small. And then they were like, well, go for pie in the sky. And then like, well, what can you really do? So we went back and forth, but this year, what's going to happen is that we are going to be part of the troubleshooters lab. So that's for usually is like, lighting things that go wrong, sound things that go wrong. We may not necessarily do the goes wrong part this year. Well, we have some ideas for that part too, to just throw people off while calling. But I think this year it's going to be just the standard calling. And so we are actually working we figured out something that can actually just take place at a table. And in the goal in the future might be to actually make some lights move, but we're going to use a simulated light situation on a computer so that things will still change when you call them. So it won't be just calling to a video. But we're excited to see how that develops and how it actually works, and hopefully prove that people want this, and therefore we can make it bigger and better in future years. So we're starting the small version, and we're going to see what we can do. And then we also have things called PDWs, professional development workshops, which generally speaking happen often before conference. This year's a little weirder than that it's kind of during conference at times. And so they're specialized more like a 4-hour event or an 8-hour event. And so the one that is more typically like a PDW, we're working with Prepared. And so they're offering it actually for free instead of a cost. Most PDWs cost a little extra money. But to spend an intense time looking at Prepared, which is a software to organize your space and your schedule and all those kind of things. But the one that most excites us, and it wasn't even something he offered to do, and we made him. Joel, could you talk briefly about what you're going to offer for us?
Absolutely. Thank you, Erin. So nice to see so many of you. So this PDW is a backstage tour of the Hollywood Bowl. And so it's a world-renowned space over 100 years old. It's one of the world's largest amphitheaters with over 17,000 seats. A wide variety of celebrity and events happen there annually, performances including annual musical. And Michael Vitale, he's the vice president of production and the producing director of the Bowl. He was originally a stage manager, but continued to elevate in this pathway of a production manager and kind of elevated beyond that. And he has a whole team of production managers and folks that he works with in various management areas that he's going to come and share. And they're going to participate, showing us around the space, but also answering our questions, including it's not 100%, but it's very close, that Meredith Greenberg, who's been the PSM for their annual musicals at the Hollywood Bowl for almost the last 20 years, is likely going to be sharing information as well. And there's a host of like unreal things there, including one of the amazing things is we've got this headphone set system that like cancels sound. In the Hollywood Bowl, they have that for the entire audience so that the neighbors that are next to the bowl don't get sound out of there. There's all sorts of technology that's like beyond belief available. And yet there's also some very basic things that they have to do with because it's over a 100-year-old space. So it's a fun tour.
Oh, did he freeze or did I freeze?
It's going to be
You
more
did.
available for folks.
You froze
Oh.
there slightly, Joel. Can you go back just like a sentence or two?
So I talked about the sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's going to be amazing. That's it. Period.
Okay.
Two
That's
sentences.
good. So, the rest of it we'll get when we get there.
Yeah. And I want to point out that
just-
it is, while you can do lots of different tours, we are specifically trying to make this very management oriented. Go ahead, Tina.
I was just going to kind of go back to all of the programming. Does everyone know how to go on the website and look at the schedule, such as it is, of sessions for conference? Has everyone done that? Not everything is posted. So if you go on the USITT website and you go, and they've redone the website, so it's it's a little puzzling sometimes to figure out. So if you just go under the list of things and it's USITT 2026 and scroll down a bit, oh look, there it is, and Erin's put it in the chat. You can actually see day by day what's offered. Now it's all, of course, subject to change, and things will in the next 2 months. But that if you just want to look through all of that, you can see what I would think of as the more traditional and conventional sessions, as well as receptions and PDWs and things like that. So later on, there will be an app that comes out. And the cool thing about the app is that you can say, here's what I want to do on this day. So here are the 12 things all at 3 p.m. that I want to do on that day. And then, plan your day as you go through. So take a look at that. You can get even more excited about the things that are coming up.
Eventually, there should be an option also to focus by commission, which we would encourage you to do management, but don't forget the other commissions. It'll be interesting because sometimes a few people will also tag their sessions as management because it's about costume shop managers, which are welcome to be part of our commission too. But we are also going to be working on like a QR code and the greatest hits and the things we think you should attend, including like safety and health is a big commission that definitely affects us as well.
And I will also say, when we talk about the session that I poached for the inclusion track, there's going to be a great. I'm so excited for it. I just wish we had more time to get to it, about the collaboration between LA Opera and Deaf West and the Philharmonic that has really grown into an amazing thing. So it will be very management oriented, even though it's going to be housed under inclusion. So things like that, I will certainly recommend that you look for. So yeah, so much to do. You want to clone yourself, so 3 of you can go to all the things at once.
Which is the other thing is, if you do attend from like a school or whatever, divide and conquer and give each other's notes of the other session.
There you go. I will also mention that Danielle, who's on the call, has a session about theatrical intimacy, kind of focused toward the management end of things, which we don't always get, right? We get it for performers and we get it for directors, but we don't always get it on the management end. So that's a really exciting thing that we're going to get to do. So lots of offerings all the way around. I will, if it's okay, Erin and Claudia, I will say keep an eye out for this. Will happen right at the top of the week. It's called something like Meet the Commissions. And it's a great chance to go and have people talk about what's going on for them this week. So you can do that. Now, that is separate from the commission meeting, where we often collect ideas that come into fruition for, as we talked about, years to come. So I don't know, Erin and Claudia, about the shape of Meet the Commissions. Maybe that's still to be worked
I
out.
think
Okay,
that
well,
it's what I'm going to ask at the next meeting because I know it changed last
there we
minute
go.
last year. I will say it conflicts
Mhm.
with Hollywood Bowl tour, so you get to pick one or the other. But also, I will be at the Hollywood Bowl tour, as will Joel, so we can still talk a lot of things about what the commission is while we're hanging out with you.
Good. Do we have questions so far? Okay. Um, Next on my list was just to talk about some general advice for a conference, even if you've been there before. Mine is always comfortable shoes, but I just wanted to throw open the floor to uh, any advice, not specifically on the Long Beach conference, although I suppose bring sunscreen is important. And but you know, if you are doing this conference for the first time or the 19th time, it can be daunting. So how do you get through it and how you make the most of it? So I'll just open up the floor for whoever has ideas.
One thing that I found in my first conference was that folks either exchange business cards or, some of the younger folks taught me about the digital business cards, and it was amazing. I think there's an app called Blink with a Q at the end, and you can get a free thing and just tap phones with someone to exchange business cards. It was amazing, definitely a game changer, and I wish I had known about it at the start of the conference. So sharing that in case it helps somebody.
It's cool. You will you can pick up a whole lot of swag on the show floor. So lots of people will pick up all their pens and then, and lots of people like old-fashioned paper business cards, particularly if, they can write on the back, like, where did I meet this person and what do they want to do? Especially these people. We talked about this a little bit at the show floor, but these are also people that can hire you. So they want to know all about you and go back and do that. So yes, either digital or not. Figure out a way to
Yeah, definitely have.
figure out who you talk to.
I
Go
personally am one
ahead.
of those that I do better with a business card because I will never look at my phone and look for you on the digital ones. Other people love the digital ones. So maybe have it both options. If you do the business card, have an area that we can write a note on somewhere and especially not as glossy. Even though glossy may look cool, pens don't work as well. So have a Sharpie if glossy is your thing. Think through those kind of things. But it's often like, oh yeah, I said I was going to send them this template. Oh, I said, it's not even about jobs necessarily on my end. So have those.
Yeah, June.
I will say that the expo, particularly at USITT, is so there's broadly, right, the two halves. There's the educational seminars, labs, PDW's sessions, and the other half, the expo floor. And the expo floor is vendors and gear and the latest lighting and tech, but it's also, particularly at USITT, it's employers. There's the cruise lines have stuff, Disney has stuff. Crossroads Live has stuff. Networks presentations has. They all have booths that you can go visit and go, hey, what is it you do? And they're like, hey, we do touring and we do this kind of thing, and here's how you'd apply, and here's the kind of stuff we do, and you can go around and meet potential employers on the floor and find out what's up. What do you do on the Princess Cruise Lines? What do you do at Disney Live? And a lot of them are employers that are looking for people, specifically early career people. And so if you're networking, yeah, you want to meet other stage managers and stuff, go stop by the booths of these various theaters, employers, blah. A lot of schools have booths. So if you're interested in graduate school, they've got a booth that says, "Hi, want to learn about our graduate school?" I mean, they're tailored to that. And so there's employment opportunities or leads for employment opportunities on the expo floor. So the expo is not just look at the XJ7 and see what's different from the XJ6. It's also, that kind of stuff. And just the networking aspect of go to the SMA booth, go to resume doctors, go to there's a lot of career option things, but you're also going to meet all of us and similar folks, and go to the social things. You may be exhausted after the end of the day. The social things are where the networking happens. And yeah, take notes on a business card, scribble on your phone, whatever, because later you want to know who you met and what their names were. Remembering people's names and who they are and where they come from is hugely, madly important because the business is all about who knows who and 6 degrees of separation. And USITT is one of those places where so many people are concentrated in the same space. So take advantage of that. But also later you're like, I don't remember who Joel Veenstra is, but I know he's somebody. Write it down, write down, oh, dude who got us into the Hollywood Bowl, stage manager, excellent human, drink scotch, whatever. Write it down so that you start forming a idea of who's in the business and who's where and what's going on.
I will also say that um, lots of people go and they're like, oh, I'm not the kind that can just walk up to a booth and start a conversation, or I can't just walk up to somebody and introduce myself. Well, a lot of us are like that. You know what? Sorry to say, you need to kind of get over it a little bit because this is your opportunity. There are enough people at the conference who are really not afraid of going up and telling people that they should be hired. So if you've got friends along with you, figure it out. Practice going up to people you don't know and asking them a question or going up at a reception and talk to them,
Well,
which
and
is
yeah, and
really hard.
the booths and
Go ahead.
the people in the hallways, it's not like dealing with a Sephora salesman who's on commission who's just going to attack you. That we're there to be friendly. You're there to be
Mhm.
friendly. If somebody wants to buy something or know more about the product, great. But if you walk up to a booth and you're looking at the XJ7 and they come over and go, hi, don't be like, I'm not ready to buy an XJ7. Just say hi. I was looking at this thing. It looks cool. And they'll be like, yep, it's cool. Want to see it? They're just there to be friendly. They're not there to shove their goods and services down your throat. They're there to say hi. And a lot of people just come by to say hi, and that's fine. And again, unlike people who are at a theater doing a job, doing work, and you're interrupting their day, the whole point of walking around is to have people walk up and go, hi, you've never met you, but I saw you on the webinar and you seemed interesting. And what do you do? It's okay. No one's going to take offense at that. That's why we're there.
And then you will see him on the
It's the
escalator, and then the escalator again, and then the escalator again.
12 receptions, but it is the coolest thing ever if you have a session and someone finds you later and says, hey, I was in your earlier session. It was great. I have another question. It's like, this is the coolest thing ever. So, yeah, don't be, that's not a bad thing. That is a really great thing.
More things for expo floor is, yes, a lot of it, we think of the lighting and the sound and all of those. We do have some more management things than just the SMA booth. Now it has expanded. We have virtual call board. We have prepared. We also behind the scenes, if you don't know about behind the scenes, it is this fantastic organization that they even have a whole mental health initiative to support people like us. They have their own set of mental health first aid classes. So go check them out. They also have some swag that helps fund their nonprofit. The proceeds go to, I believe it's a nonprofit. That's my understanding. There's also some big things to know that every day that the expo opens, and especially the first one becomes this whole celebration, often has a band or something else going on. But there's what we call the running of the bags, and everybody makes a beeline for Syracuse Stage and Lighting. And they make, actually, I've got several right over there. They take theatrical drape leftovers and add some webbing, and they make tote bags out of them. And everybody runs and gets one. And then that's what you put your swag in for the rest of conference. Or you then, if you didn't get one the first day, because the first day is a lot going on, go for the second day, go because they will sell out. They're just, at times they're throwing them everywhere. And then later in the day, you might get an apron or a thing to set your
Older.
drinks on,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. So do that. But also, like, BMI tends to always have a really cool glass that people want to connect with. And so ask around what's the cool swag this year and keep asking others what this cool swag is.
June, what's your cool swag?
Um, so as I am often to be found in the Lyceum Spotlight booth because I also wrote a book about spotlights and I sell my books and talk about spotlights in the booth. And we have swag. I have stickers, they have, different stuff. If you come up to a booth, yeah, swag's fun and all the different booths, but don't just come and grab swag and run. It's bad behavior. It's trick or treating without saying trick or treat. You know what I mean? Come say hi and ask about what's in the thing and say, hey, can I grab a couple stickers? Absolutely. But the folks who just kind of come over, dash, grab stuff and run, it's bad behavior, it's juvenile behavior. Like the swag is there because we want you to come to the booth and say hi. So at least do the courtesy to the vendors of saying hi and asking about what they have at the booth before you just like grab stage management stickers and run, you know. It's kind of high school behavior, but I see it from people who should absolutely know better. You know, stop, introduce yourself, smile, say hi, you know, talk out, get the swag on offer, sure, but you know, don't be smash and grabbing because it's just rude.
Yeah, and as you mentioned before, you don't have to know all the technical specifics of the things that's there. Sometimes, on the second to last day of conference, hearing, "Hey, how you holding up? How's it going?" And just talk to them as if they're people is nice too.
Along
Okay, other,
along the
go
lines of
ahead, Daniel.
people, I always suggest bringing extra pens with you, because usually I'm the one in the session who has a physical notebook and pens, and someone next to me is like, "Oh my God, I forgot a pen," and that's a great conversation starters to be able to give someone else a pen.
Good, good, good. Other advice for
Swag pens
conference.
are common
Okay,
and pick those up.
okay, we'll be there. Between USITT and SETC, I never buy pens. I have all my pens are from other organizations, and they're all great. So, yeah. Um, so I guess sort of bigger picture is uh, this is a lot, it's very overwhelming. And how do we think about maybe a little bit of self-care while we're at conference? You can't party all night and then be up for a 9 a.m. session unless you don't want to be awake for it. So I don't know what tools have you all found to keep your sanity for that very intense week?
I can say that I have two things. One is I tend to have a bit of a hard time finding food. I have a lot of food intolerances. That means that I can't just kind of grab fast food around. So I pack food and I figure out how I'm going to feed myself. And it doesn't mean I don't buy things out, but I kind of I have a plan for the day to be able to do what I need to do and see people and talk to people without having to worry about where I'm going to go. And then I make sure I have a really good dinner at night. And I'm one of those people where there's a couple of things that will happen social wise that might happen after conference in the evening, but I am very specific about what I choose. And I know I am somebody, I know I need to pace myself. I need the downtime. I need the evening. If I can find one of the hotels that has a pool, I'm going to be in the pool or hot tub. Um, and some of the best conferences I've had have been actually when there's been like a hot tub or a pool that I was able to do a lot of networking by doing that. But what I found in those first few years when I came back, started coming to conference every year, was that whether it's you're going to go every year or whether you'll go once and then maybe you'll see when you go again, with all of the things we're talking about, pace yourself, right? You don't want to get to the point where you just kind of burn out by the end of the week. So do what you need to do to have your downtime, to have your rest, so that you can last through and um, be take all the opportunities that you'd like to take. Yeah.
Deb and
Yeah,
I,
you can't
go
you
ahead.
can't see everybody. You can't see all of your friends. And I'm a bad one for on the first day saying, "Okay, we'll catch up later in the week," and then you're on the plane and you go like, "Oh, I never saw that person." But I was just remembering I first got it into USITT as a mentor in the stage management mentor project, where every second is scheduled, or at least I think it was worse than it is, or more intense than it is now. But we would close down a bar every night and then have a 7:30 a.m. meeting. And I am so happy that that's not the culture of that place anymore. But it made for a very hard and tiring week, but wonderful. So yeah, figure out your limits, figure out what you can and can't do. It's okay to skip a session for sure. It's okay to take a break. Yeah, maybe to just sit and have coffee with somebody that you haven't seen in a while is the best kind of restoration.
Long Beach was
Sorry,
actually
Erin,
my favorite time. You just made me think of, and I was just telling somebody this earlier today. There was somebody who instead of booking a hotel room, booked a houseboat. And he happened to be somebody in Denver that I was trying to connect with anyway. But instead of going to a session that I can't remember what it was even about, I think it was about networking, frankly. I went to his houseboat and we watched the sunset and dolphins and had wine. And it was like my best experience of that conference. And I was also going to say, Deb Scherer and I usually house together, and we usually just have the top of our dresser is filled with snacks. And every day we're like, okay, put this in my bag, put this in my bag, and at least we have something
Must
to eat.
have snacks.
yep.
So
And
it's so fun
water.
to
Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
Hydrate for sure. Mary Beth, what you got?
It's so lovely to be able to connect with folks. And the first time I went to the conference, I was shocked at how many people I knew. It felt like I was meeting people from my like every part of my previous life and career in a way that really surprised me. And going out to dinner with some of those folks have been some of my favorite parts of the conference because we work in this profession where you get to be very close to people really fast, and then maybe you don't see them for a decade. And so to just get to sit down and talk with some of them makes me feel less of the FOMO of, am I missing something at the conference right now? Am I missing this event? This is the thing. And getting to see those folks is one of the best parts of it for me. And usually you can find enough people who kind of have a common interest or a common history that you can get a nice group together. I always enjoy that. And again, I'm sometimes bad about planning food otherwise. So it has been very helpful when I can do that.
Again, we'll just say if you see a reception, see if it's something you want to go to. Even if it's something you don't want to go to, it might become something you like because of the food. So there used to be there used to be a lot more receptions, I think, than there are now. Than there have been, I think, since COVID. So
We
go to the
are looking
mixers.
at
Oh,
planning a management mixer. We're still trying to figure out what national hasn't told us about the schedule yet and where we can fit it, but co-sponsored with the Stage Managers Association, but not just for stage managers. We will be having a mixer. I just don't know exactly when yet. But if you have
is
the
that the
brain power,
one yeah, is that the one in the assigned time that everybody has at the same time?
no, that is actually conversation hour, which we can talk about that
Right.
too. That there's actually an assigned conversation hour right now, and we
Thursday at
have
2 p.m.
Thursday at 2 p.m.
Yep. Thursday too.
We have specifically assigned that as our management educator times because we couldn't fit it into a session and we wanted management educators. But I am sure that somebody's going to come up with, hey, stage managers, why don't we meet if you were at last year's Columbus by the big head, or you pick somewhere, and I'm sure there are going to be other places that other conversations will have. But if you are a management educator, there's going to be that's what we're going to dedicate the management part of the conversation hour for. No, this is going to be off site somewhere, so it won't be in the schedule, but we will announce it at every session that there's going to be this mixer. And so look for that. I'm guessing it's going to be Thursday night, but I'm not convinced that that's when the free time is.
Yeah, Thursday night tends to be the night when everybody who needs to get together gets together because there aren't other programming, and so university alums get together and, organizational things get together or whatever. Yeah, the conversation hour is a new thing. Ours has the really terrible name of EDI Mixer, and because I'm just waiting for someone to come up with something better. And no one has yet because it's only me. But anyway, yeah, so unfortunately, it's a free hour just to program something. But it's all at the same time. Like all the commissions have it at the same time. So you have to pick who you'd like to have conversation with. But I do applaud programming for finding that time because it's nice to have. If nothing else, you can go get food and hydrate during that time. So, all right. Other questions, particularly not to put you all on the spot, those who will be going for the first time or early in their time with USITT that have questions for the group. Okay. I will say always wear your name tag. You're going to need it anyway to get in, but um, always have your name tag on because
And
then
flip the
people
right
don't
way.
have to flip it the correct way. So your name is on the outside. So people don't have to like do that thing where they're, staring at a strange part of your anatomy to try to read who you are and where you're from.
And they give away little flags that you can stick to the bottom of your name tag that say official things like presenter or vendor or whatever, but they also say dumb things or fun things, or there's pronoun tags, or there's, I'm a whack job or whatever. But you put those in and it gives you an idea of who these people are and what their specialties are and what their personality is. So sometimes, and the little tags are available near where you're picking up your name tags and stuff, and adding those in can help add context to who you are.
And as far as lanyards, they will give you some. If you have a fun one you want to bring a lanyard. I specifically like one that holds it two places. I can't remember. Lately, they're sometimes picking the ones, but if you have your own lanyard that happens to have two holders, then you'll know you have it the right direction. So bring that along with you. Doesn't matter what lanyard you wear. Speaking of lanyards, there's a whole group of people that, at least for the last several years, the color has been blue. But if you see a blue lanyard on people, they're part of the SMMP, the Stage Manager Mentor Project, and they are, especially the adult, looking for lack of a better term, ones are the mentors for the program. They love to talk to people about management. So if you see one of those, they're happy to have you come say hi. And we also, a lot of us wear them from past participation, and just to point out that we had been involved, and so I may or may not be wearing a blue one myself, but I'm not part of the program. Too late to do that program this year, but you might learn about it and want to join it for next year. And so they actually help manage all of the events of the conference. And so whether it's calling cues for some of the big shows, or being ASM's backs behind the scenes, or also just being the helpers that organize where the awards are going to go, that kind of stuff.
Has everyone who's planning to go already registered?
Yes.
Yay, thumbs up. Yes. Yay, good. 10. Yeah.
I got
Because
the
every
very
time the
last
price
prepared
hikes,
slot.
what's that?
I got the very last slot for the prepared.
Ah,
Stop, like you should have seen us trying to get, because I wasn't a member yet. So you should have seen my coworkers and I trying to like do all the things in like, half an hour, but I got the very last slot, so we're very excited.
good, good. Yeah, it can be a pricey thing, well worth it, but we missed the early bird pricing, whatever that is. So, and I think there's another hike yet to come. So, certainly if you know people that are interested in doing it, um, earlier is better than, waiting. So, Shay.
If we want to add the additional events like the Hollywood Bowl tour, now that if we've already registered, how would we go back and do that? Because I'm looking through my profile and it's not showing up as like a current registration or anything, but I have the receipt that I've registered.
Oh, because I
That,
just
oh,
found it.
you've already registered for it, but
No,
it
I've
doesn't show
registered
up.
for the conference, but I know like there's
Mhm.
a way to like go
I
back and add
I
things.
did this earlier today, so let me look for it while y'all are chatting.
Amazing.
I will
June.
say there's particularly if you haven't already registered, or if cost is a prohibitive thing for you, which it often is for new people, you can just do an expo only pass, which is considerably less expensive. And in fact, there's a lot of the vendors and stuff that exhibit that even make free expo passes available. So if you can't afford to register for the full conference and sessions and stuff, I mean, you're missing a lot because that's a lot of what's going on here. But particularly if you live locally or whatever, and you still want to kind of get a piece of it, or you've got friends who are like, oh, I don't know, you can just get an expo only pass, and that's enough to go see the expo floor and what the expo floor has going on, and that's better than not coming at all. So it's not like full boat nothing. There is a smaller option.
Yeah, anyone who is an exhibitor gets unlimited free
Is
expo
it
passes. Let's
is
hope
it
they're not
unlimited?
selling them on.
I was gonna say every so often
It,
some of the bigger ones run out, but yes, there's almost
I
always a
think
way.
it is. it is so close to unlimited that, anybody, you can probably find it somewhere. You can reach out to me because I run all that for Carnegie Mellon. So,
Yeah.
um,
Stage Managers
yeah,
Association will be posting a code, but also the bigger
SMA
one
will be
would too.
there. Yeah, for sure. So it's a
So
good way, and this is a good point. If you just have one day in that week because you're yay employed or something and you just want to come over, then it's a great way just to see what it's like.
I think you can also do single day registrations for sessions as well. If there's like a day that you're like, oh, this has all the good stuff that I want to see. Um, for me, there's a thing called the attendee service center. I actually have multiple service centers that I have to keep going between because there's session managers, attendee center or service center and speaker and all these things. But there's an attendee service center. And within that, there's a part about registration and edit my registration. It's that kind of stuff. And I believe that's where if I keep clicking through, it goes through all, goes back to the beginning of your stuff, but then that's the part where to make sure you sign up for opening night if you haven't. That's free. Sign up for those. You can decide if you want to pay the $75 to do the cool things on the Queen Mary on Saturday evening. Anyway, but that's where the Hollywood Bowl tour should be. And we currently still have spaces on that. And
Cool.
I think you can ask to wait list prepare just in case somebody drops out.
It is interesting.
Erin, do you want to? Go ahead, Claudia. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, Shay, I see what you're seeing as well, is that your member profile where you get the registration for tonight and any of the other webinars only for me has conference up till 2022. And then the conferences after that somehow are somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the new website or whatever. So we've got about 4 minutes left. Erin, I wonder if you want to talk through the links that you put earlier in the chat for various ways
Yeah.
people can be involved.
Yeah, and then I have one more that I wasn't going to post until I said something about it. So let me just grab that. Okay, so we have a volunteer link that is not just about conference, but if you just want to be involved more with the commission, there's that link. And if you're part of the Facebook group for USIDT management, if you're not, join it because that's where we post some of these kind of things. We also have a Google group that you can't sign up for, but if you send an email to Claudia or I with your email address, then we can do it. So there's things about that in the Facebook group as well. But the volunteering, there's, lots of different things. And my favorite is there's one that just says, put me in coach, because you don't know what you want to do. But if we need a special person to hold open the door and help, if we can't get student volunteers, then Deb will help use you to manage the changing of the negotiations room. Or we might have people helping with the calling lab. If you want to sign up for PRIMP, the portfolio reviews and interview materials prep, they opened today at midnight. Early this morning, they opened up. And I will say we market ours the best, and I am the only person I know that has a wait list for ours. And I still can do 3 tables at a time for stage managers. And we have arts managers and we have production managers. So arts managers and production managers really don't think about portfolios. So if you have friends or you are one of those people, please let them know about this opportunity. Also, I am very much to say it is not just for students. I could go and have my stuff reviewed. We also have a whole education session. So if there are people who have tenure coming up, Claudia, you actually went through that, right? The PRIMP for tenure. We're not sure if we're going to have one for curriculum this year, which we often have had for PRIMP, but anyway, for certainly we're going to have tenure reviews still. But it's a half-hour slot. And take a look at the session schedule. And if there's something that you really want to be at the beginning of, if you're signing up for the 6 o'clock thing that goes till 6:30, check that there's not something right at 6:30 that you then want to go to, more so the afternoon one, because unfortunately, they're so limited, their travel time is not able to be included this time. So if you're doing a session also, don't sign up for a slot right before your session, but I'll be watching that as I organize them. And if you want to volunteer to be one of those reviewers, I just sent out my list to all of my standard folks who have done it before, but I'm always looking for new people. And there's the link for that as well. And then the final link that I want to add in is we're one of our sessions, and probably the only one that actually shows up as being stage manager right now, because we have 2 sessions that need to be still put onto the website. But anyway, we do a roundtable. And it's really kind of a catch-all to hopefully catch several things since we can't have a full session on a whole bunch of different things. But we want to know your ideas of what would you like us to talk about this year if we could manage it. So fill out that so we can start planning what that roundtable is going to be. I think we're going to do some of it panel style, which is like how most of the sessions are, where you got talking heads up at the front. But also we might break out into groups. And so these people over here might talk about one kind of stage management, and the others might talk something over there. And then yes, if we really like your idea, we might turn it into one of these 365 webinars, as Tina just put in the chat. So yeah, so tell us what you would like to have if you don't see it on the schedule or you haven't heard us talk about it.
Hey, this is our time, our very short hour. Some hours are long, some hours are short. Anyway, I just want to thank you all for coming. Thank you, Claudia and Erin and everybody for talking about this exciting conference to come. So we're all friends now. So we'll see each other in Long Beach. Let's remind each other where we met. Oh yeah, we were on that webinar and where we can all gather at June's booth and see what the swag is. Anyway, so if it feels daunting to go to this huge conference, at least you know a few people coming on. So I want to thank you all for being a part of this, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in Long Beach.